Hi everybody, I'm here today to talk about suggestibility and how we in everyday life can get told to do things but in a suggestive way, how people do use that to suggest to you what you should be doing with your life rather than perhaps working on yourself and developing yourself. People that aren't working on themselves, people that are asleep, like to suggest that we're doing stupid things and wasting our time. Each to their own. Everybody should be able to do what they want. But people do use suggestibility to manipulate and to control us and to make us feel like fools sometimes. I'm not just saying in trying to laugh at people that are looking at a spiritual, esoteric path. In all walks of life, people use suggestibility, usually in a way that they're trying to get their own way. Perhaps they use suggestibility to make you think, oh, yes, I can do that. They can suggest that you're really good at doing something when really at the end they're getting something for their own ends or their own means. Anyway, I'm sure you come across all this kind of thing, and we've got to look out for it and make sure that we can see through it, which is not always easy. And sometimes there are teachers that are very suggestible, like to use suggestibility, but hopefully it's in a positive way to suggest to you to develop yourselves in a certain way. But Gurdjieff says in Life is Real Only Then When I Am, and hopefully I can say this correctly, I must discover at all costs some manner or means for destroying in people the predilection for suggestibility, which causes them to fall easily under the influence of mass hypnosis. And suggestibility does do that. We have governments suggesting to us how we should live our lives. We have our teachers suggesting to us how we should study certain things and ignore others. Many people that are very anti-spiritual, esoteric stuff, probably because they don't understand it, and probably because it's not something that they quite um, want to look at, because it means they've got to question themselves. People don't want to do that. But I'd like to think that in recurrence or reincarnation, at some life, they will come towards this and hopefully have a development in spiritual ways. But many people like to use suggestions against people that are doing that by making us suggesting that we're fools or wasting our time. I've met many people that like to say there is no God. Prove to me there's a God. Well, I can't do that, but it's down to myself. If I want to work on myself, to develop myself, so I have a relationship with the divine, that's for me to do. I don't need to be ridiculed about it, and I don't need to be suggested at thrown suggestibilities. Otherwise, each individual should be to their own. Otherwise, we'll have people controlling us that maybe are not the right people to be in control. And I'm not saying people like us should be in control, not at all. But it's the control freaks that usually send suggestions our way. So this is also from Life is Real. That abnormal psychic factor, which has genuinely become an imprescriptible inherency of contemporary people, and which very definitely, as can be easily proved experimentally, acts on the general psyche of people in such a way as to contribute to their being satisfied by superficial assimilation of all kinds of new impressions, read or heard, without evoking in them the foreboding of any bad consequences from this. And we get a lot of that from people. uh, People use suggestibility to avoid what's really going on and try and send us down a different path as to what's really happening. And this is with 2020, 2021, we've had the conspiracy theorists coming out and who have been talking for decades about certain things and now saying, excuse me, that, conspiracies are coming true. But then we've got governments on the other side trying to suggest that conspiracy theories are nutters, or people that are conspiracy theorists have mental health issues because they don't fit in with society. People use suggestions on both sides of the fence, whether it's to usually put certain people down that don't fit their agenda, where we want to have suggestions that are said to us to help develop ourselves and to be positive and to go forwards, and not to be caught up in all the mass hysteria and mass hypnosis that most suggestibility incurs. And this is what Gurdjieff used to talk about and write about in his books, that the people in control of this planet, they do use mass hypnosis and mass suggestion to keep us all asleep. And we don't want to be asleep, we want to wake up. So we have to do suggestibility on ourselves. But I think that's more of a self-hypnosis on ourselves. But we do have to be aware of when people are using suggestibility on us, when people are trying to control us for their own means. So this is from Life is, no, this is not from Life is Real, this is from Meetings with Remarkable Men. His understanding of one property of the functioning of man's organism, which might be connected to a certain degree with the civility of human nature. Human nature does have this thing in it where it likes to be told what to do. We're quite lazy beasts, really. Even though we don't want to be servants, we very easily give everything up to be servants instead of being masters of ourselves. We are servants to the rat race and servants to our governments, servants to our families, servants to our work, servants to our loved ones. Our loved ones are important, our families are important, and we do have to do a certain kind of civility to them, obviously, because they're our connection. But at the same time, if we could all become masters of ourselves, and maybe we'll be role models to others to stop being servants. It's been inbred in us for millennia, and it needs to stop. We need to wake up, everybody, so that we can all start finding the mastery in ourselves and stop being servants and slaves. So this is from All and Everything. Functions which exist under the names of egoism, self-love, vanity, pride, self-conceit, credulity, suggestibility, and many other properties quite abnormal and quite unbecoming to the essence of any free-brain being whatsoever. Of these abnormal being particularities, the particularity of their psyche, the most terrible for them personally, is that which is called suggestibility. So our psyche needs to be developed and strengthened so that we are not prone to all this suggestibility that's done by people who have managed to take control, maybe not for the better of everyone else. There are many lunatics that run the world over the centuries, or run governments, or control people and the places that they rule over, and do it for their own good, and perhaps enjoy being a tyrannical dictator, and rather than being a compassionate leader. I sometimes wonder, maybe we need to bring back the spiritual kings or the priest kings of olden days, who would be trained in religious esoteric teachings as well as secular law, and then would understand that, through esoteric teaching, that all people are people and need to be treated well to live happily, harmoniously. I'm up for priest kings any day. So All and Everything. The causes of the complete destruction of good customs as well as moral usages are, of course, also engendered by these abnormal conditions for the ordinary being existence around them, established by them themselves. As a concentrated result, there is a special property which arose not long ago in their psyche, which they call suggestibility. The free brain beings must already, as separate persons, as well as entire large or small groupings, infallibly influence or find themselves under the influence of others. And that's what I was trying to say about, suggestibility from those that are in charge. They're influencing us to do what they think is right. If they were a harmoniously developed person, I would probably listen to them. If they were a great teacher that could show how to live so that everybody is living well, rather than in this lunatic asylum that we live in now, then I'd listen. But at the moment, the way I see the world being run, people in charge don't seem to care about the little people. They might pretend they do, and they might suggest they do, but are they really caring about the little people, or is it just all for themselves? So from views from the real world, the third kind of influence, suggestion, is very powerful. Every person is under the influence of suggestion. As a rule, at every moment of our life, only one center works in us, either mind or feeling. Our feeling is of one kind when another center is not looking on, when the ability to criticize is absent. By itself, the center is like the coating of a recording tape. If I say something to it, it can later repeat it. If I say to one center that you are beautiful, it believes it, but it does not understand. Later, if I ask it a question, it repeats in reply what I have said. Our mind has no critical faculty in itself, no consciousness, nothing. So we need to uh, use that suggestion to work on all centers if it's the kind of suggestion we need to hear to help ourselves develop. Whereas the suggestibility that comes from the leaders that put the mass psychosis over us and the mass hypnosis, they're just repeating the same thing over and over and over, like we have in the last year. Stay, what was it? I've forgotten what, because I don't listen to them. I don't have them used, so I don't hear all this mass hypnosis and mass suggestibility that they put into us of staying apart from each other and wearing our masks and making sure we've got our gloves on and things like that. I'm not saying it's wrong to do all that, but putting it into it, that's a big mass suggestibility that they're doing to ourselves. I don't want to go into my own thoughts of what's been going on, but use what common sense you have. Stay safe. Take care, everybody, and we'll speak again soon.